It's super quiet in here, so we might as well get started. It's 5:30, ready to go. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. We appreciate everybody being here with us tonight. We'll excuse Dustin White and Cody Allen, and grateful for the rest of the council that are here. To begin, we've asked Councilman Roosevelt to give us an opening prayer, and then we'll go ahead and recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful for this opportunity to meet as a city council and citizens of Roosevelt City. We're grateful for this city and the citizens that serve here. We're grateful for this land we live in and the freedoms we enjoy, and hope and pray that we will always have those freedoms. We're grateful for those that are serving in the military, as well as those who are serving in the police and fire and other services in our area. We're grateful for our many blessings. We ask you to help the Spirit to be with us as we make decisions concerning Roosevelt City, that we can be inspired to do those things that will best benefit and help those citizens in our community. We're grateful to thee, and we say this in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, Chief. We're just going to put you in charge of the Pledge of Allegiance if you're here every time, okay? Or Lieutenant. Either one. Okay. Let's go ahead and look at the minutes. Do we have any amendments or corrections to the minutes?
Just one I gave to Sunshine, compliment her on how well she does in those, and especially last time she had COVID and she was transcribing. So I gave her the one on number 12. So I would move we approve unless there's other.
Do we have any others? Seeing none, motion on the table. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Goodrich. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, next we have our public comment period. Any member of the public can come and speak to the council for up to 3 minutes. Are there any in the audience that would like to take that opportunity? Yeah, and just go ahead and come up to the mic, state your name, and then we need to make sure it stays to 3 minutes. Thank you.
My name is Jenny Thompson, and I just wanted to bring up something. On New Year's Eve, I had a sign in my yard defending Israel, and it was vandalized, and apparently whoever tore it down was pretty mad that it was there based on the damage that was done. I reported it to the police. I haven't heard anything back yet, but I'm especially concerned about this because I had gone and talked to some of my neighbors that I know before Christmas when I visited them, Lynn and Keith Goodspeed, and they had had an Israeli flag flying in their yard for a number of weeks after the October 7th terrorist attack, and their flag got stolen. And seeing what was done to my sign and how angry the person must have been that did it, it was scary that this happened. And I think it's more of an issue than just vandalism. So I just wanted to bring it up in city council. I hope that this will be taken very seriously by the police. I have Jewish family members, so it's more personal to me. I hope Roosevelt will send a clear message that we won't tolerate attacks like this on freedom of speech, and that we won't tolerate anti-Semitism. We can't let people that act like that violate, like my private property rights were violated, my freedom of speech was violated. But we can't let this take hold in our city. It is very scary, in my opinion. So, yeah, please take it very seriously. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any others?
That was nothing important, but I live and die by this thing. Unfortunately, this is my calendar, and this meeting is not on your calendar.
Is it not on the calendar?
Listed as an all-day work session, at 5:30 meetings, listed. It should be.
Yeah, we have it on our public calendar.
It's not, I just checked it before the meeting. I checked it on my phone and I checked it before the meeting when I came here. It's listed all day. Your agenda is there, but it's not listed on my calendar.
Can you help me understand that really quickly? When you say the calendar, is it on Roosevelt City's website?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. We can definitely make that happen. One of the things, and that is good that you point that out. Just for the state requirements is it's the Utah Public Notice website that we have to have it posted to. But we do apologize, it wasn't on there. So we'll get it fixed. Any others? Mr. Winterton, you don't want to come and tell everybody? Take a few.
I'm just observing.
Okay. Well, I will then. We have Brian Winterton. He's a candidate for, not council, but commission, county commission. Correct?
Yes.
So thank you for being here with us tonight. Any others? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move forward with the rest of our agenda. We don't have any committee appointments, but that is something that we need to advertise for and identify. When is your next meeting? It's not until March, is it?
No, the third Thursday of February.
Third Thursday. Well, we need to, we'll look through, because we're gonna have to reappoint a third of those. Will you get with some of the committee or the current committee members? Sunshine, do you have that list?
Yeah, Daniel and I have a shared roster, and so that's current as far as who needs to be reviewed and everything.
Okay. Can we get that kind of rolling, because we have, I don't know, 6 weeks?
Yeah, all I need is the recommended appointments. And I
Okay.
can fill that out.
President, what time's that meeting? Sorry, Mayor. What time's that meeting on the third Thursday?
7:00.
So let's, if you'll get with Daniel and between you and Daniel and who else, is Cody still the treasurer?
Cody's still the treasurer. Yep.
If you want to get with a few of those and just, if you can get the list from Sunshine and make some contact to see who might want, well, we might want to send that.
I'll also share it on that list. It's a Google Doc.
Yeah, I've got it.
Okay. We just need to get out to the ones that are currently there to see if they want to be reappointed. And if so, then we can go ahead and reappoint them. If not, then we need to make sure that we advertise. And we'll need to do that with the other committees. So maybe that's something. Josh, will you help me follow up with that where I'm MIA most of the time now?
There are 5 in 2024 who need reappointment.
Okay. Recognitions, do we have any recognitions tonight? All right, Rose, we'll turn the time over to you for presentation of 2023 animal shelter statistics.
Did all of you get the new copy? The first one I sent out was incorrect. I apologize for that. For the second. Excel transferred a few of the numbers incorrect and Excel got the best of me. So these are the current stats. I really just wanted to show you guys so that way you know where the shelter's at, how it's been, so you kind of have an overview of where it's at. I'll give you a few minutes just to look over the terminology and see if you have any questions, if some of the terminology is not what you're familiar with. The biggest one you might not know what it is on Outtake 2023, there's a section called RTF. This is Return to Field, so this is for community cats or feral cats that we released back in a while back and we mixed them. But give you a few minutes to look over that.
On the other rows, you have the found intake area county. What is other? Is that just people that drop by or?
So the other is actually feral and community cats. So that's why the 28 is the same. Those are ones that we brought in just to TNR, which TNR is just trap, neuter, release.
Okay.
But under the intake zip code where it says other and unknown, are those dropped?
So a lot of the time we have people that don't fill out paperwork or they dump them. So those are mostly ones that we have no idea where they came from.
things that this stands out to me a little bit is, what is our overall budget right now for the animal shelter?
I'm not sure what it is off the top of my head, do you know?
It's like 250,000 or something like that. If you'll find that, the only reason I bring this up is because, our rate from Duchesne County has been pretty stagnant for the last however many years.
3% each year.
Yeah, but we've had significant increases in the last few years, COVID, supply chain. I mean, everybody has, everybody knows, inflation is double digits. And if we're only collecting a 3% increase, that was the first thing that I saw, 33% of all of the animals we take in are from the county. We ought to look at our budget, see what that percentage is of our budget and just see if there's something that we can look at again there. Because I'm guessing it's probably only representative of about 20% of what we actually
Does Uinta County contribute?
know. And so that's another thing we might look at too.
Yeah, for the ones that come in from Uinta County, sometimes people will just drop them off when they hear that we won't accept things from Uinta County. So some of those intakes are from ignorant people that don't want to follow policy, that type of thing. We also have fees for out of jurisdiction. So if it's an adult dog, I believe it's 60. So there is fees that they will contribute if they're surrendering an animal from the county if they don't drive off. So some of them are not collected, but we try to limit everything outside of our county as much as possible. And after you guys look over the terminology, I'll just go over a few of the highlighted key points that I'd like to go over. Is there any other questions or anything?
295,000 is what we have in the budget this year for the animal shelter. Rose and I have talked, there is a chance we may have to do some adjustments because she's seeing huge increases in her veterinarian costs and some other things that have gone up. And our contract with Duchesne County off the top of my head is about 53,000.
Exactly.
Somewhere in
I
that.
was thinking right at 50 and so I was thinking 260, so it's a little more than that, so 290. Really, they should be paying more like 100.
And another thing is too, the county contract, it is time to be renewed and it greatly needs renewed because it's not reflecting what is actually going on. So a lot of it, there's a lot of inconsistencies. We really like to look into getting that updated and up to par with what's going on.
Yeah. When we were working on the animal shelter budget a while ago, it was like 180 to 200. And so I already knew that it went up, significantly. But that also has to be reflected in our contracts with our others. So I don't know how long ago we signed that contract. I'm sure it's probably at the point where it's renewed every year.
2017, I think was the latest one, wasn't it?
Up to 58,000 is what
Okay.
it is now with the 3% each year that we increase.
It's still, I think, something that we address and take a peek at.
Alrighty, I will go ahead and start on a few highlighted points. So personally, I love data. I feel like this is how we make all of our decisions. We can see where we're at, where we need to improve, and what we can do as a shelter to help our community, see what numbers we can improve. So first, we'll start on the intake area. There's two numbers I have highlighted there. It's the overall stray and surrender intake. So if you look over at the stray overview, 639 were impounded as strays. Is there anybody unfamiliar with what a stray means? Perfect. I just like to make sure because there's a lot of people that don't quite understand that. So to me, that number's a bit crazy because those are animals that are running around that most animals, they're never true strays. They had an owner at some point in their life. So most of these do have an owner. They are just not getting claimed or the owner's not taking care of them. So most of what I will go over, I will try to give solutions for and let you know what we've been doing to try to improve those. So as far as stray intake, the number one thing with almost every number here is public education. Animal education is not huge in our community, and that's something we're really working to fix. So we started getting in the newspaper, going on the radio, trying to reach out to people and let them know this information, let them know these resources are available to them and everything. And then another thing is microchips. There's a lot of people that don't know what microchips are. We try to promote that as much as possible. And of course, animal control could help avoid this as well. If they were able to pick up a dog, see its microchip, they could go cite the owners and bring the dog back, avoiding the shelter altogether. So animal control would definitely help a lot of our numbers in this aspect. And then we will go down to surrender overview. So 419 animals were surrendered by their owners. So we looked at the main reason people are bringing these animals into us. A lot of what we used to see is they simply just couldn't afford the animal anymore. thankfully, we have a lot of programs and resources available to these people now that can help them keep their pet if they're struggling as far as financial stuff. So we don't see that as much anymore, but the biggest thing that we see is somebody had a fixed dog or a cat, with their kittens, they don't know what to do with them because they didn't have a fixed animal. Another big reason we've been seeing is people cannot find pet-friendly housing just due to landlords, that type of thing. That is one of the biggest reasons. They simply can't take it to where they're moving or whatever the case may be with that. And another large one is, put it simply, they were not ready for a dog when they got the dog, or they didn't understand the breed. Common example, actually, they got a blue heeler, which is a cattle dog, sniffing at the kid's heels. This thing's aggressive. So biggest thing is public education, making sure people are ready for an animal when they're getting it, making sure they're making that commitment for long term. Because most of what we see is dogs under 1 year, and that's the age where they kind of start being a bit crazy, a bit high energy, they haven't trained them, and that's when all the behavior problems start popping up because they don't know how to handle it. So definitely public education on that one. Is there any questions so far? So we will move down to the black chart. So I really want to run this status on here. The unaltered status means they were not spayed or neutered prior to being at the shelter. Because there is a high lack of spay and neuter in our community, unfortunately. And the numbers definitely show it. Over 90% of them are unaltered on intake. That means this many animals are running around the county, not fixed. An unfixed animal will increase our population exponentially. So we really want to focus on promoting spay and neuter. And then we will go to intake age groups. I kind of hit base a little bit on this, but 516 animals actually came in under 1 year. I knew there was a lot, but this number completely blew my mind because this means that 516 animals were either born or brought into the county within the past year. And this is just the animals that have been in our shelter specifically. This doesn't count for the ones that actually stay home, they sold, anything like that. All right. And something we've also done to try to promote spay and neuter and that sort of thing is we have made an ethical breeding pamphlet. So there is a lot of backyard breeders in the basin. A lot of them don't realize they are. They simply don't have that knowledge. They don't know the impact they're causing. So we're trying to spread the word on that as much as possible. And if they do want to breed, making sure they're doing it ethically so that it's not affecting the shelter population. All right, we'll go down to the outtake. So I didn't put this in the memo, but I did create a chart of our adoption rates. This is one thing that I feel like as a shelter we are very proud of through the years. So if any of you want this chart, I'd be happy to send it to you, but I will go over the adoption rate from the past 10 years. So, and how we calculate this adoption rate is, get back my paper here. So you take the total number of adopted animals and divided that by the total intake minus the claimed because the animal stray is claimed it cannot be adopted, and then minus died, and that's how we calculate that. So 2012, our adoption rate was 9%, and then I will just go up each year from 2012. 9, 7, 7, 4, 2016 was actually 1% adoption rate. Or 2016, apologies. Yeah, 2016 was 1% adoption rate. And then it goes 7, 3, 6, 10, and 2021 is when it really started to grow. We were able to get 30%, 2022, 40%, and last year was 35%. Although it's increasing drastically, we want to jump that number even more because most of these animals are going to rescue. They're getting shipped off to other rescues, getting adopted back through there. We want to make sure that we're serving our community and doing what we can to keep these animals in our community. And then we will go down to
When did you take over the animal shelter?
2021 or 2022. I think it's
21.
21. Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. We definitely do everything we can. And then next we will go down to the claim rate. So 22% of strays were claimed. As I mentioned before, most strays that come in, they have an owner at some point. So to me, this number is unacceptable because these animals had an owner. Why are they not going back to them? And yeah, very few were actually born as strays. So once again, microchipping, animal control would also definitely help, and just public education. And my main focus whenever I run stats is our non-live outcomes. This is one of the most important statistics to me because every animal that comes into our shelter, we want to make sure we're giving that animal the best outcome possible. And so we really want to focus on those non-live outcomes. So non-live is either died in care, that'll be DIC. If you see that anywhere, it's just died in care. And then euthanasia. We actually euthanize very few animals, and since 2010, we have not been a high kill shelter whatsoever, thankfully. But there is a lot of death that we see due to unvaccinated animals. So when I ran the numbers, we had 58 non-live outcomes last year. 50 of these were kittens. And so you may wonder, why is this kitten? What's wrong with the kitten? Unvaccinated. Cat distemper is absolutely outrageous out here. And nobody knows they need to vaccinate their cats. It's just not public knowledge in our community, so we're working on improving that. And just for example, I checked with the Unit just to see what their dog parvo was so far this year. They have already had 24 cases in January. So just so you can kind of see where our community at as far as disease-wise, which these diseases absolutely preventable with vaccines, which we offer for $6. And is there any other questions or anything?
Not for me. How about the council?
I have a question. What is the cost for spay and neutering approximately? I know it's going up.
So, at UN Vet, they majorly raised their prices. We recently got a price list from them. For a dog over 100 pounds, it's looking at about $500. So what we did to try to get some area there, we actually contacted Best Friends out in Salt Lake. They have a clinic out there where they offer very low cost for shelters. So we actually just did a transport out there. I think it was Thursday. And each month, if we start driving out there, it'll save us $3,000. So we're definitely gonna look into start doing that. It's drastically cheaper. The dogs are $60 to $80. The cats are $3 to $15. So.
And the time, like, how long does it usually take
So last
for
time
them
it
to
took-
do it? Yeah, to do the,
Yeah, so last time it took quite a while. They were a bit short staffed, so it shouldn't take this long in the future. I think I was out there about 8 hours, I want to say, before they were completely done, and we were able to get 15 animals fixed.
Sure.
And we calculated our average adoption rate to see like how many animals we would actually need to bring out each month. The total was around 25 to 30 animals each month, so if we did 2 sets of 15 because you can't fit 30 animals in a van. We calculated the amount of gas we'd be paying for, paying an employee that time, calculated everything, and it is definitely significantly cheaper
Right.
for the trip.
I'm just wondering if we had, I don't know if it's even feasible, but if we had like a free spay and neuter day that the city sponsored to encourage people to come in. I'm just talking out loud. I know it's costly. I'm just saying if we did that like once, but we take the first, I don't know, 20, 30 people or whatever, or have a reduced rate, they bring them to the shelter. I'm just trying to think of ways that we could mitigate some of
Yeah.
those things. It doesn't have to be free, I don't mind people paying, but if we kept it where it would be worth their time to come down, you're doing that with the shots, you're doing it with the microchips, I'm just wondering if we said, if you come down on this day, the spay and neuter's $80 or something, normally it's 500, and if we could get someone to come out like from that group to
Yeah.
do it like the day or something.
So Nuzzles, they are the one that comes down to Fort Duchesne. However, you have to be tribal member to get the discounted fees. We have talked with them about coming out and Best Friends as well. They've been looking into it to see if they could do a run down here for our community members that are not tribal, so that way it can get the whole population of our area. Another thing that would definitely be worth looking into is UNT County has kind of a voucher system. So if you can prove that you're a Vernal City resident, I think it's $30 off or something like that at your local vet. I'm sure UNT would be willing to work out something with us, even if we offer $10 off. Any sort of discount will incline somebody to get their animal.
No, that's all, I'm just thinking out loud, but I'm just thinking of some way to help them, to encourage them to get that done.
Absolutely.
Would help you guys, would help the city, and maybe they'd be more willing to do that. And I know you mentioned, we talked before about doing the school, and you mentioned earlier, you're trying to get into the schools and educate the kids about that as well, proper animal care and the services, et cetera, that are available, so I appreciate that. I'm just trying to think of ways to, and sometimes if you just have, some sort of discount day or something, if you come on this day, we'll get it all done and.
Yeah. And even though it technically would be a cost to Roosevelt City, if you look at it this way, if you give a $10 voucher for a dog, if that dog gets fixed, you're preventing litters and litters of puppies from coming to the shelter. So it's a cost, but it's well worth it. It will save you money in the future and prevent that overpopulation. Because when you look at the stats, the ones that we sent out for rescue were 550 animals. Most of the rescues we send are not in Duchesne County. This many animals are being shipped out each year, and we're still getting them in every year.
Well, maybe do some more legwork on that. I'd be curious if you can come up with some sort of proposal, because I think it would be good to do some sort of discount voucher, something, you know, maybe to help people out so that they might be more willing to do that. And, you know, I'm just trying to think of ways to help mitigate some of the problems we're having.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So I know there's, just another issue that sort of unrelated, but there's dogs running around that are not fixed that I have seen for years running around the neighborhood. And you know, they get called on all the time, and it's hard to catch, you know, who the owners are, but is there a way to, you know,
Absolutely.
enforce that, like basically that they surrender their own dog or that they have to get it neutered? Do we have laws that can back that up? Because even without capture put in our shelter.
The key to that is an animal control officer. Right now, in Roosevelt City, it's just RPD taking over that. They are police officers. They have a lot of other calls to attend to. I don't think it's in their priority to go catch a dog that's running that they can't catch. So it's not their priority, and they're not professionally animal trained individuals that know how to catch them. So by having an animal control that can enforce these policies, absolutely. Utah code also has a policy that any animal impounded in the second time in the same calendar year, they have to pay a spay and neuter deposit to incline them to get their animal fixed, which an animal control can enforce that.
And is that in our city code as well, or is the Utah code enough to enforce it?
I think it's just in Utah code.
Utah
Yeah, we've been working-
is the law, and so
It doesn't have to be in our code to
Oh,
enforce it.
absolutely not. Utah code trumps our law.
Yeah.
And so if it's in Utah code, we can make our laws more strict than Utah code, but we cannot make it less strict.
And we have been working to get animal shelter zone policies. Before it's never had policies, we got those over to France. We're going to get those reviewed and in place so that way we're following policy and there's a written that shows everything that's going on.
What Don said is a good idea, but I would like to see something like best friends, or what is it called?
Nuzzles.
Yeah, they'll come out, you know,
Right.
a 2-day, you know, weekend or something like that, bring all their people out, and where we'd offer something, $80 or whatever, but we get charged, but then they don't have to take their animal outside the unit base.
Right.
Yep, I'll definitely keep pushing them for that and look for other resources that way.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then there's one last thing that I forgot to touch base on, just so you can kind of see the shelter population. So if you look at the total intake, it was 1,090. This is an average of over 90 animals per month. Currently in the shelter, we have 26 dog kennels and 38 cat kennels. So we're having an average of 35 canines come in each month and average stay of 26 days. So we have been very overpopulation, so it's definitely worth looking into expanding, getting more kennels, and possibly just adding on.
What about that back building?
Is definitely usable. The biggest thing is the cost of new kennels is insane.
Have we done anything with that back building yet? Because I know that was going to be a separation, sick animals, so that they're not.
We did look into that, however, we came into a roadblock with that because if we're having sick animals out there, you're walking across dirt to get there. Cargo lives in dirt and it would be completely contaminated outside. So that's not a very viable option. We've mostly
What if
been
we
using
put a
it
sidewalk
for,
in between them?
yeah, that would definitely work. What we've been using it for recently is just storage of crates and also our free pet food pantry storage.
Yeah, I'm just thinking there's room out there, we could either expand kennels in that area or, you know, without having the new building, we might just have to invest in some.
Yeah, and there is a garage door that goes out the back that would be easy to add on so that you don't have to create an entirely new building. But the hard part is we do not have a separate intake area, which is major cause for disease spread. We actually just had 2 cargo dogs brought in, so we are on quarantine right now. So having a separate intake area, spending that money will save money in the future.
Mayor, if I just may, we've been kicking a lot of ideas around. We meet with Rose every 2 weeks, Lieutenant Knight, and we made great progress. Just a note too, we're really pleased to have her. I think that she's quite an asset, regardless of her feeling towards Dennis and Brad.
I heard she's not a deer lover.
That poor cat went flying in the back. Yep, everybody was okay, but that one poor cat that just got spayed or neutered went tumbling through the back of it. Yeah.
Is it alive? Did it survive?
The deer?
No.
Oh, the cat. The deer did not survive. But all the animals were fine. We were all good. The deer was not.
We don't care about deer. We're not worried about deer, right?
Yeah,
Well, glad you're safe.
yeah,
And thanks for all you do.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys for having me. Is there any other questions or any other info that you guys would like? And would anybody want the info chart from the past 10 years?
Yeah, if you'll maybe just get it to Sunshine and she'll email
I have
it.
a paper copy if you'd rather have that, whichever works.
You can get that in sunshine.
Yeah,
I'll
absolutely.
make a copy for Patrick Barnes, thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
All right. Josh, you're up next. I mean, Mr. Bay.
Thank you, Congressman Byrd. Jumping ahead. Council, so I'm here representing Mr. Brown. He is out of town at a conference this week. I have some recreation proposals. As you know, pickleball is an extremely fast-growing sport, and we've had on our budget for the past couple of years some plans to build some pickleball courts. Well, our pickleball community has found a wonderful new location that will serve them very well. We have our basketball courts that they've been using as temporary location. There's lighting there, there's fencing there, it's a wonderful facility. However, we do have a concern there with the basketball courts. So we've met with the recreation department with some of our pickleball players, and we've come up with a proposal for council that we'd like to present tonight. Council has previously budgeted $125,000 to build a new pickleball pad. This would essentially build a slab of concrete that then they could put lines on and play pickleball on. Not ideal. With our current location, with the popularity of pickleball right now, we are proposing that council approve us to spend approximately $49,000 to resurface the basketball courts into pickleball courts. This would give us 3 pickleball courts and 2 championship pickleball courts, so 5 courts total. Some additional curbing, fencing, and turn that facility into a top-notch pickleball facility with lights, fencing, everything in place. However, we do not want to neglect the basketball players in our community. So with some of the leftover funds, we would propose that we build a single full-court basketball court for the community for those basketball players that are still around. If we were to do both options, it would come out to $156,000. So we would be over budget by approximately $31,000. The pickleball community is working on fundraising to get some of these additional funds, as the true benefit here is for the pickleballers. Rather than a pad, they would have a great facility. A previous conversation I had with Councilman Goodrich, she had a wonderful idea. I should backtrack. The original idea was to build a basketball pad right there next to the pickleball courts. Central Park, with the next proposal that we're going to talk about with the mini golf, is becoming a little crowded. So one of the proposals that Councilman Goodrich had is possibly we move the basketball court to another park. One of the recommendations from Mr. Brown was to look at Centennial, or some other locations to put a basketball court to make that into more of a park feel rather than just an open field. We thought that was a wonderful idea to spread things out throughout our community. So the proposal tonight is not necessarily to place the basketball court at Central Park. The proposal is to move forward with the planning of that, come back with a location. At this point, the location would be Centennial, but that location would be finalized by council. But approved to move forward with the pickleball resurfacing of the basketball court to transition that into a 5-court pickleball facility. Again, with 2 championship courts, 3 regular pickleball courts. The pickleball surface, this will be a wonderful facility. We've worked with our pickleballers, I guess that's what you call them. And it will be a top-notch facility that will be great for our community. And again, as of right now, it's $31,000 over budget. We're asking for additional funds to cover that. However, the pickleballers are underway in fundraising efforts to make up that difference.
And the pickleballers are 100% in favor of this. I mean, they like the idea.
We like the idea because pickleball courts are coming in, so.
Just one other quick question. Is there anywhere else in the city that we have basketball courts besides right there?
There's
There-
a banker at Constitution
Yes, in the parking lot there's
by
a,
the
By the stage.
Yeah.
Not really a court.
Oh, yeah, that's not,
It's not a real court, there's a hoop.
yeah. That's what I was wondering. That's the only place we have basketball. And I don't think that, I mean, I see it being utilized quite a bit, but never like the whole basketball court being utilized, all four. Is it just four right now?
Where the pickleball courts are.
There's two full courts,
Yeah,
4 baskets. And we do understand that it is possible 5-10 years from now, basketball will resurface as the more popular sport. However, it is clear right now, pickleball is an extremely fast-growing sport. There is a great need in our community, and it is a wonderful facility that the community has been asking for multiple years.
one thought, and it might just slow the process down just slightly, is to just, I know I'm always like this, but to do a poll really quickly in our community, just to see how many basketball players that are out there compared to football players, because I just wouldn't want to leave ourselves short. I'm okay with the idea, but maybe we build 2 back where instead of just the 1. And I know that's not going to save us a whole lot expensive, but I just don't want to sell one sport short. But if it comes back that there's not a lot of people that use that, especially our own community members, because there might be some people coming out of Roosevelt City to use it, but we're really trying to dial in on. I don't know if that's something we can do quickly.
Well, I was gonna actually say Preston already reached out to me about helping him to coordinate a survey for the rec preview they're hosting, and I'm sure he can tell you a lot more about that, but we do have a survey in the wings that will be executed then that should give relevant data for that.
And we can add this in.
Yeah, I think I'll have a look at the questions, because I think the way I have them formulated, we should already get an answer to what sports people are participating in. But I can review it with Preston and make sure that we do include a question that gives that specific information if it's not already there.
Because I believe the question asks, what are some of the facilities and things you utilize most in
Yeah, I
Roosevelt?
think we did.
And that's what I would almost like to, that's my only hesitation. I would almost like to see that first before we make a final decision, because then it might, we ought to let that guide our decision.
And I would assume based off, if spring is here, which it looks like it, but probably not, that would be just fine. I don't want to speak for Mr. Brown, but I would assume that we have time before we go into construction, so I think that would be more than appropriate.
So we would have to make it.
I'm not saying that you couldn't, I'm just saying that I would, my recommendation would be to get.
Well, and they're using,
Because I really want.
Mayor, they're using USU right now anyway, indoors, for pickleball, plus some of the church buildings and things. So I think, they can get by another little while
Yeah.
if they need to. And I agree with you. I'd like to see this go, but I think it's good to make sure it's what the citizens really, it's gonna meet the needs.
Yeah, that would be my only concern. Because maybe we try to work in a dual, another double basketball court.
Yeah, and I
It's
think
just a single.
one thing to consider, like with the survey in particular, is do we have a place to play basketball besides, because there's a lot of people that play basketball that don't use that facility that's currently being used for pickleball, because there are churches and there is the college and there's other places. So
And
I think where's the need, what do we have the greater need for right now? Extra, an additional basketball court, or to maintain 1 or 2 courts for the public out in parks, or have a pickleball place.
the only other thought that comes to mind for me as well is I thought we had $300,000 allocated for.
We had planned for one up at the sports complex, one down here, and then we originally had another one that got scratched. And then one up at the sports complex got absorbed into the complex,
See,
the complexity of it.
that shouldn't probably have. I
It
don't
was
know.
just the cost of the whole project and ballooned, that was one of the things. And the pickleballers got together and they requested to be moved down.
Well, I guess I didn't realize that got cut off because I thought that was money that should have stuck with that particular portion of the project. You know what I mean? If we made, if we decided to approve higher costs on the sports complex, that should probably been independent of the money set aside, because we told the pickleballers that we had X amount of money set aside for that, and it's probably, anyway, that's okay, we might just have to reallocate.
The conversation
We
that
have
I
plenty of
had,
money, Rhonda said so.
the The conversations I had with the pickleballers was when council was budgeting, it was one or the other. It was not gonna be both.
I
And
didn't
now
know,
what was gonna be decided would be up to council.
yeah,
They were gonna decide which one would be up to the pickleballers to ask council which one you
okay.
I'd probably have to put some of this on to the pickleballers if they can start tracking the data of usage of those courts.
Yeah.
See how many people are going, different people as well, not just same people. And
Yeah, and I like the survey idea too, because really what our time and attention and resources should be spent on those things that are being utilized the most in our community. And that really should be driving our decisions. So I think this survey will be fantastic.
One other thing to consider, we, if we're thinking about putting in 2 basketball courts at some point, maybe put them in 2 different places
Yeah.
rather than both in the same place.
And this proposal would be one full court. So
Okay,
2 would be, we have to increase the,
right.
And that's what I
yes, that's a great idea. Again, we have multiple locations in the city that could use a basketball court. That's a wonderful idea.
Yeah, I think places where you have a lot of kids, some central location.
And Centennial Park is probably the least, what would you call it? The park with the least amount of resources.
Right. Yes. The least developed part of the city, probably.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. Next item I have for council's consideration is council approved in our capital budget the addition of a mini golf course at Central Park. Now, this is for a very simplified mini golf course. If you've been down to St. George, a lot of hotels are building these. Cody, Wyoming, their city operates a similar golf course, mini golf course. The idea behind something like this is the city does what the private sector can't do. Now, if the private sector can do this, wonderful, but if we can provide an amenity for a very low cost that will provide opportunities for our youth to recreate, for people to get out and interact, get off the screens, it should be something that we should consider. So council budgeted $85,000 for this. Mr. Brown has contacted countless different organizations that build these mini golf course, and he's had bids everywhere from $500,000 to $100,000. They've been all over the ballpark, and the bid he asked for proposal tonight, is $107,453. This would be an additional $22,000 over our budget to cover landscaping, perimeter fencing, benches, and additional add-ons. The location of this, do you have the map on that one, Ryan? If you go down to the next one. Oh, up. Should be one right up. Well, the location of this is in between the old ambulance shed and the current basketball courts. There we go. He's gonna pull it up right on here. There's great coverage here. We can use the old ambulance shed as a booth where the attendee can watch over the facility and make sure that it will be taken care of. This will be extremely low maintenance. We've worked with some of these people that are bidding on this. Things that are extremely low maintenance, that don't require a lot of oversight. The proposal is that we would hire a couple youth at a time to charge a very nominal fee to keep this extremely low cost. Last time in Cody, Wyoming, for example, they charged $1 to $1.50 to play mini golf. Obviously, with inflation, the cost might go up, but the idea is the fee is to cover the attendant there that is passing out golf balls and clubs. Everything else will be weatherproof, that it can stay. All of these designs were designed for our climate, for individuals that have done these types of golf courses in Utah and similar locations. This is the proposed, actually, is it this one? That first one, yeah. Yeah, oh yeah, it's the color one, perfect, thank you, Ryan. This is the design for the proposal for this one that is $107,000. So it'd be a small mini golf course there right in between the 2 locations that can be staffed and covered by.
So I have kind of a overall footprint. I mean, what were we looking at?
Yes.
50 by 50?
70 by 70.
Okay.
Good question, sorry, Mayor. This would entail taking out those trees as well, the trees that are in between the two locations.
Okay, I have a couple questions. One, are you fencing the whole thing? Like, just, I'm thinking like for vandalism reasons, if it's unattended, is it vandalism proof? Or are we fencing it off so when it's not being watched over, it's secure?
So the original intent, and I believe it still stayed this way, is that it would not be fenced off. It is vandalism proof, has other facilities that park facilities on there as well. So it is one of those where to keep the minimal cost is one, if people sneak on and play after hours.
I'm not worried about that as much as if they're like tearing up the turf or things like that. And then my other thought is, if it were closer to the pool, could instead of you staffing it totally separately, could you just have the pool employees have the ones that they rent out the balls and the clubs, and you're not having to totally staff something separately?
Good thought.
There could be locations we could look up there. We pull up a map of the pool.
And maybe it could be there and they walk to the pool. I mean, you can see out that way. I don't know,
I
just.
just, personally, I'd still like to have a fence around it just for the vandalism part of it.
The one thing with the current proposed location is you have the visibility from City Street. So the more visibility you have with the pool, it would be back onto the baseball field or in the middle, towards the middle of the block or by the parking lot.
You did it right there on the north side of the parking lot with that.
You absolutely could do it there.
And that could keep his trees.
Yeah, I mean, that's a shade for the pickleball court, right? You're ripping down the shade for the new pickleball court that you're gonna build.
I don't know, I just think that way you're not having to come up with money to staff it. If you could,
I think you'd still have to have people to staff it there because we'd have to either put a window onto the, because if you have people going into the pool and then come out, I'm not sure how you would do that. To get people to go inside to the pool to pay and then come all the way back out into the landing there.
My only thing is if you put a sign that said pay inside the pool. If you did
and you
have
might could have some kind of electronic, something that opened the gate from,
That's what
they
I'm
could push a
saying.
button and let you in.
I would have it gated, and then they just, when they pay, they can get a token or some fob or something that opens the gate and they can play, and then when they're done, they can come back. Not that we're, in my mind, I'm most concerned about the,
One thing to keep in mind, we do an electronic gate, we're probably looking at almost doubling the cost of the project. If we do an electronic gate around 70 by 70 facility, I looked at Naples Splash Park, where they did their little splash park. That gate was expensive.
for the fence or just the gate.
They have the electronic gate there because they have people inside the booth to let people in, and they have a chain link fence around it. It is absolutely doable. I guess the idea is, do we want to keep this as low cost as possible, or do we want it?
Well, my thing is it's protecting our investment. So if we spend $100 and some thousand and then it gets tore up the first couple of years because it's open to the public, or we spend another $20 or $30,000 in the last 10 years, we've done better to spend 20 or 30 up front and then not, that's my thing, it's just.
Or is there a type of course that maybe wouldn't look as nice, but there wouldn't be things to tear up? It's more cement and more, I don't know, I'm just.
That's what these are based off. So in St. George, they're out at all the hotels, they're not fenced in, they're out in the public. I guess that'd be a question for Chief and Lieutenant. The location on these, and that was another reason why the communities I've talked with, they said you need them on a busy street. Because you have visibility 24 hours a day. Next to the building there, it's past the parking lot. Unless we light it up further in, it's further off the street, and we're right in the middle of the city block. As opposed to right on, of course, State Street, you got a building on one side.
And I think people are coming and going to the pool and the library.
Is that
I
parking
mean,
lot?
middle of the night.
Oh, middle of the night, yeah.
Because the vandalism would typically occur middle. I don't know, maybe that's not a concern.
We always tend to err on the side of caution of fence and some type of system. Whatever it is a little more deterrent. That's our thought process. We not gonna be able to be there the whole time.
Could you have, I actually kind of like the open spot there north of the parking lot, but what if you had lights and, camera there that could, just put smile, you're on camera, that, and there's a camera there that could kind of monitor a little bit. And then, I agree, I think I'd like the fencing, but maybe if we start that way, see how it goes, at least we could, it's lighted, so there's less likely, and if you have cameras and they let them know, maybe that would be somewhat of a deterrent.
Dustin,
Yes.
is there electricity to that bathroom?
Yes, there is.
Okay. Because I'm just wondering how we run electricity for a gate. But could you see how much a gate fence would cost?
Yeah, we can look into that, and we can look into lighting as well. Remember at the ball fields, how much lighting is, so we'll just keep that all in mind as we.
I wonder if you could do like more feature lighting on the course, like at ground level, so they could just see the ball. Instead of having.
Yeah.
There are 2 windows, right, in the pool office that face east? Just 1, 2, I'm trying to remember, maybe just 1 along there. You can see out.
I thought there was
Yeah.
one right behind the desk.
There's cameras in there too.
Yeah.
It's in the parking lot, facing the north towards the pavilion, so it's in the parking lot, the swimming pool. And Edwin just updated those, just to help me keep an eye on those bathrooms.
So there you go. We already have cameras there.
Well, that's what I'm saying, so lighting, just a little bit, just and sign that says smile, you're on camera, just so people think about, I think we could maybe get by without fencing initially if we had to, and then add it later. I'd rather have the fencing, but
I personally haven't seen a lot of people use that area either.
no.
I do see a lot of people sitting underneath the trees and that area, but I don't see a lot of people using that area north of the parking spot.
There is, there are races that start and end there, and that might cut into their path a little, I don't know. But what's the big deal?
Well, that's some.
You could keep the farmer's market there too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Under the trees.
I know Dustin doesn't like those trees though too.
They're pretty messy.
They probably.
Trees are messy.
But we can take them out and get different trees anyway. So,
Yeah, I can bring those proposals back, and I'll try to get some info
The
from
other
other
thing-
cities. Because that is one of the things that they did talk about is, if it's not visible from the street, you're not gonna get participation.
one thought also is if you don't have to remove the trees, that's $7,700 to put towards fencing.
That is maintenance on the pickleball courts, or basketball courts, the trees, lines.
Even right there close to the pool, where people park in the parking lot and see that as they go in the pool, there might be some more usage too. Just
Well, and sometimes people have parties and stuff, they could have access to both kind of
Or,
thing.
yeah, when somebody rents the pavilion, but I mean, then either way, it would be close, but yeah, let's see.
We'll get some prices on that. Any other questions?
Well, thank you for that, though. I think it's an excellent idea. Drew, we're putting the time to you for Title 16.
Oh, boy.
Okay, just to update what we were asked from council last time is to identify the sections of Title 16 that were statutorily mandated by the state. So we have reached out to the RCC group. They have color coded each of these statutory sections in a highlighted pink overlay color. It's a little confusing when you first click into it. The color scheme didn't quite come across on the Google Docs. So you have to click into it. If you'll scroll down just a little bit, Sunshine.
Ryan's got you.
Oh, sorry, Brian. Okay, so just a clarification on this, the pink, or the yellow rather, would be up for policy discussion. So those items of this title would be what the RCC group has recommended for clarification changes. And if you'll scroll down a little bit more. So the highlight right there, the highlighted pink that you see there, the enactment of ordinances, that is mandated by SB 174. The highlighted pink and yellow, the guidelines and checklists, those have been commented on. So if you see that kind of yellow pinkish shade, those have been comments on them already. So that gives you a little clarification for tonight. I just want to go over what they have color coded for your review. And hopefully by next meeting, we can get this.
I got a question on that thing.
Okay.
So we've got the pink there, like you said, and then at the bottom of the table or kind of in the middle there of the screen, you've got like the yellow color. Is that also highlighted pink and then another color, or because I couldn't tell if that was a mix or if that was.
So it's a little confusing. On that particular table, I asked Kendall specifically on the parcel boundary adjustment on the table. That was their recommendation of the policy discussion.
Okay.
So, but with the highlighted yellow, that meant it did have a comment.
Okay. So, okay.
Yeah. And that particular one is boundary line adjustments. And the way they've got that set up as far as, and I think, Mayor, we spoke about this some time ago on lot line adjustments of having that done administratively rather than taking it back through the process of prolonging a simple lot line adjustment.
Yeah.
So that they did reflect that. That was their recommendation. We didn't recommend that, but that is how other communities are doing that particular
I
administrative.
know the county does.
Right.
When it's just a lot line adjustment, it doesn't go through.
They're pretty simple. Yeah, they're pretty simple, just so they meet the square footage of the zone.
Yeah.
If it's anything unconforming, then it should come.
Yeah, anything that's subjective, I feel like should be looked at, but
Sure.
but anything that's completely objective where we have requirements, if they meet the requirements and it's allowed, then I think it's fine for anyone else to review and
Sure.
yeah.
So that, in a synopsis, that is the color scheme. And we would invite you to take the next couple of weeks and go through this, make the comments that you feel necessary, and we can address any of those. Mike will be out for our next meeting for any further clarification or questions with Title 16. We are mandated by the state to have this wrapped up in February. So,
And I would recommend to the council look at Senate Bill 174, because that's a lot of what we have to implement in this Title 16. And personally, I'm not very happy with what the state has done with this. Because
Well, I'm sure they meant well.
as do all government agencies.
In their mind, they meant well.
So I do have one more question. As I look over this, I've looked over it a little bit. Well, I've pretty much reviewed all the additions and all the, anything that looks like. Was it all added by RCC as kind of a suggestion?
correct.
There was no, has planning and zoning had a chance to look at this and make recommendations for additions?
So
And
planning and
are
zoning,
any of them their additions?
so planning and zoning did review, the only question they had, and we did receive clarification from our legal counsel from Grant on the manufactured housing section.
Okay.
And that was one that they were holding off for their approval, and we did get clarification that we are mandated by the state on that.
Okay, and I noticed there's more legislation going through right now on that stuff that's pretty hot topic,
Right,
so.
right. So, HUD is a very powerful group, and they did and have dictated what we can and can't do with manufactured housing.
Well, they didn't. The legislature has.
There you go. So, yes, they have approved as submitted to you for your review here. Okay, any other questions?
Thanks, Drew. All right, Grant, XEL. Scott, I know that's why you're here probably.
Hey, Scott, keep on it. Come on, feel free. There is stuff that I'm going to be asking for you to help with. It's been a couple months back, I think XCL sent over a proposed agreement for surface use and proposed water disposal. My understanding, and I'll defer to Scott if he wants to explain it, is it's injecting water back into the ground. Is that correct?
Correct.
Staff took a look at it, and our recommendation was not to approve this one for a few reasons. The first is that the proposed location is very close to the gun range. It looked like it was at the end of the 1,000 yard
Yeah, it's kind of
range.
It'll be kind of right in where we're going to do the 1,000-yard range. So that 240 acre piece is where that 1,000-yard range will go. And so
It was my understanding when I met out there with Brian, that 1,000-yard range was gonna be in the bottom. But it is gonna be up on top.
yeah, I can show you. So let's pull up that 240. You got that? So this doesn't show our property line though, because our property line isn't this full.
This is your property.
Yeah. So this is where we own, and this is down below, like you were saying, this is up top. Our 1,000-yard range is gonna go right here.
Okay. The proposed area that we, so we went through 4 or 5 different spots down here, and due to some state regulations, we couldn't because it was too close to existing well bores and things like that. So we actually went up here on top. We drove down this road and come down through here, and it was up on top of this bluff, not down here.
Oh, I see.
That we were proposing to put it. And really, I mean, there's some ledges right here. We could even go back down into some of these places too. We just wanted to explore the option with Roosevelt City.
The biggest question and concern that I have is, where will the trucks be coming in from?
We will pipe all the water to this facility.
Oh, it'll be piped.
So there will be some, if we can get approval for a surface use agreement, we would also work with Roosevelt City on getting right away, because we have some right away over in this area. We would just come across and deliver all the water.
Will those be underground lines or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who owns the mineral?
I guess.
So the zone that we'd be injecting in wouldn't be an extraction zone. There wouldn't be any minerals associated with it.
You have to get any outside permits from
Yes.
the BLM or?
From the state. This is all regulated site.
So there's no
You got it.
federal underlying things that we have to have.
So the next question would be, before I feel comfortable, honestly, is just to see a proposed where the pipeline would go, how we'd get there, those types of things, just to make sure, because a lot of that area, I mean, we have the Cowboy Action Range that's gonna go right below that bluff. We already have the 200-yard range that's pushed, you can see, and then we'll have the 1,000-yard range pushed. That piece right there is not gonna be, on that bluff, is not gonna be utilized much. Further south, we'll have some shotgun and skeet. But where the pipeline would come through and how that would impact that area would make a difference. I mean, that would be.
So typically, the way we try to focus our pipeline, I think there's a lot of flexibility with the pipeline. We try to stay close to property boundaries. We don't try to cut across the middle of any one track. Occasionally we do that just because it's landowner preference. But at first first review of it, we would, so if this was, I guess these are kind of property lines, we could stay right close to this, come up, where it would make the most sense to come up. But I'm confident we could stay out of any activity that would be going on with the gun range and all the other recreation.
The other thing, like I said, this doesn't depict it very well, but we don't own very much past. I think we own, correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, don't we own do we own that whole piece?
It says we do.
Who said we don't? Drew? I don't think we did either.
There's a fence line that's on the far east side.
Right in this area that we've got to watch.
And I mean, we would,
You'll have to bring up UNA counties if that's UNA counties. Is that UNA County? Okay.
if there was a property boundary, we would pursue right away with other
other landowners to get to that point too. We currently have some right of way with Roosevelt City. Could move up again, please. Oh, yeah, so we have a well, this is our well here. We come up and then we have pipeline that comes back over, all the way back over here, current right of way. But yeah, I feel like we could get creative and avoid any hotspots that you feel like would be a concern. So I'm more than happy to put together a proposal on how
I'm
we
not
get there.
against the idea, I'm just, and I'm not even against doing it there, I just, that's been a project we've been working on for quite a while, and I just wanna make sure that that's not, we're not forfeiting what we're trying to do with the gun range there to accommodate a pipeline is all.
And that's been at the forefront of all of my conversations with Kirby and with Brian, that we would stay out of the way. And the direction that I've been given from them when we've met out on site, and that's why we moved away from some of those other sites, because there was some interference there. That's the direction I was given from them. That wouldn't be any impact up next to that pivot.
What is the, so help us understand, I kind of understand, but help the kind of council understand, like on the saltwater injection or produced water, is this what's being injected?
Yes, it'd be produced water. And I'll back up just a little bit so they can understand. Like Grant said, it's been several months ago, I sent this agreement out to Kirby and to Ryan, and just trying to make that initial conversation. They originally came back to me and said, no, we're not interested. And just because of the response that I got back from Kirby, I felt like there was some confusion around what this would be, and that's why they were kind of shying away from it. So I said, if there's an opportunity for me to get in front of anybody with Roosevelt City to help answer any questions or anything like that, I'd be glad to. But what we would essentially do is we would essentially take 2.5 to 5 acres, depending on what rig we can get. It's all functions of the footprint of the drilling rig. And we'd move the drilling rig in, drill, you're probably gonna drill down to about 6,000 feet. You case that, this would all be through UDOGM standards. The engineers at UDOGM have to sign off on all of this in order to get the underground injection permit approved. And then we would put a facility up there. Like I said, we would pipe all the water there. There would obviously have to be some trucks there for maintenance, or some roads for maintenance and things like that.
How large is the facility? Because that would be, I mean, you would be able to see that potentially. So how large of a facility? Is just a wellhead?
No, we probably have 4 tanks.
Okay.
Because I guess this is the gray area that we get into. We have options. I mean, we have one disposal up in Bluebell that our facility is a mile away from the well. So we have options to do that. We just have to acquire additional surface use agreements in order to do that.
So one other question that I have also is, what about liability? What kind of liability are we assuming as Roosevelt City? And then what happens when that well is, I mean, when you're done with the well and abandonment? I mean, how does that process work?
And that, again, that's all directed through the state. We have to meet all the state standards for the plugging procedure. And
the reason I ask is, can you go up to the we own to the north? Why not do it in the corner right there?
Because of the proximity to these other well bores. So the state has just issued a new ruling that you have to be outside a half a mile from any existing well bore or plugged and abandoned well bore. And so originally we were I talked to Brian about putting it here. We did talk to him about a spot over here.
Like in that?
Yeah, right
north.
in this corner.
Well, there's another well, I can see it there in that.
Yeah, right here and then right there.
That's specifically related to an injection well has to be half a mile.
Yes, the well bore of, not necessarily the surface, but the well bore itself has to be half a mile. And we've been creative. We've done we just finished drilling one up in Bluebell that we did some directional drilling, and it's kind of a new thing. We're willing to do anything to make it the best case for all parties involved.
If it wasn't where the gun range was, I wouldn't even care, to be honest with you. My biggest thing is,
I think if we have a choice, I mean, I'm not really interested in seeing that happen. I'm just curious, what are your rights as far as, I know that mineral rights precede surface rights, is that the case also with injection wells? Because there, like you said, there's no mineral that you're chasing.
Yeah, there are options there, but those are options we don't want to pursue.
Your tanks are 20 foot tall.
Yeah, and like I said, the tanks don't have to be up there. We can get creative. We can.
Well, that's all I was
If you move the map up a little bit,
even if they're up there, if they're far enough away from, so they're not visible by.
I mean, right here, I don't know if this is Roosevelt City's property. This is for sure. I mean, you could put the facility over here, run a pipeline over there, and inject it. Like I said, up in Bluebell, we have, and it was us trying to resolve the community's concerns. We converted an oil well to a saltwater disposal well, and some of the neighbors that lived around that wellhead didn't want it there. And the reason they didn't want it there was because of the tankage and all the truck traffic and everything else. And so we accommodated them by moving the facility a mile away.
Yeah, and that was my biggest concern. Not only, the facility, but with the gun range there, having just truck traffic coming in constantly.
Well, like I said, the only truck traffic we would have would be for maintenance. If we ever had to work the well over, we'd have a rig there for a few days. But we're gonna pipe the majority of the water in there, so. And part of our reasoning for spreading these saltwater disposals out is to reduce truck traffic through town. Our operations are moving closer and closer to town, and if we can't accommodate the needs of Roosevelt City, then we just, we want to be the best out there. We want to be the most proactive about doing it.
And this is me personally. I don't have any problem with it if it was anywhere else, because I'm an oil and gas guy. I want to see, I have no problem with it other than. So, can we get an actual plat? Yeah, I think we don't have enough information to make a final decision anyway. I mean, I lean towards not doing it in that area, obviously, like Dave, but to get a few more details and see if there's.
I think it would be good to talk with mayor and maybe Josh, I don't know, whoever's most interested.
Where are they in Bluebell?
Our disposal wells. So we have.
So what I'm thinking is, this is pretty tall. If they were hidden back behind here and we own the property, then we could get away from doing that. Am I doing something funny? Everybody's laughing over there. Just kidding. If we could hide it behind the butte here, that might be a possibility, just so that it's not in the line of sight of where those bullets would be flying.
Well, and are you worried at all about them getting hit?
Well, and that's what if they're up there with a rig and they're up there with people and we have people shooting and everything else, I mean, it's not a good combination.
Well, it's just the right person can turn his gun in the right direction. So I understand that concern, but yes, we can.
Or an accident.
The
stray bullet.
Like I said, we have options. Those were the options that were presented to me by Roosevelt City employees, and so we're more than happy to entertain other options.
What's the benefit to Roosevelt City?
So, but
they'd be paying part of the agreement. It's $5,000 upfront, if I remember right. 7-year agreement. $8 per linear foot on pipe, and $50,000 when the well is drilled.
Is that what we would get?
I think there's other options available. One thing that I presented to both Kirby and to Ryan is in a lot of surface use agreements, this was just a draft agreement. It was something for Grant to look at and to redline and get back with, this Roosevelt City can be comfortable with this, we're not comfortable with this type deal. But we have several different options that we can go. In some of where we do extraction, we'll do an upfront cost where we pay an upfront cost for the surface use agreement. And that's a one-time fee. In some of these cases, we've negotiated agreements where we pay a per barrel injection So every barrel we inject, you get some revenue from that. It sounds like, it doesn't sound like very much. It would be pennies per barrel. But over the course of the year, the last one I calculated out was like $125,000 a year that would come to Roosevelt City for injection, and that was at like 2 cents a barrel. And it's all a function of performance of the well. If we get a good well that takes 20,000 barrels a day, then that's more money to Roosevelt City. But if we get a well that only takes 5,000 barrels a day,
what's your average up in?
So the average across the basin, it just depends on what formation you get. I know that Finley has a saltwater disposal well almost straight south of this. I think they call it Yoda, and it takes a lot of water. And so we're hoping to hit similar formation, but I would say on average across the basin, you're 7,000 to 10,000 barrels a day per facility.
Well, I think that gives us enough information to at least keep around. I don't know, is the council comfortable making a decision?
I think we did come here for a decision tonight.
Yeah, I think we need more information. I think, you know, they need to look at options, and I agree. I don't want them up there with just a chance of, you know, people taking shots or whatever, plus having the vehicles, the trucks up there, et cetera. I think if there's other options, we had to explore those.
So this is actually what I do for my job, is approve permits, because I'm with the BLM, I'm a natural resource specialist there. And I think just as far as a city, I think it would be best before we contract see their services plan that they're going to be providing to the state, make sure that we agree with what's happening there. I think we can contractually say that we're willing to work with you, but I don't know about, you know, if that's what this is, or, you know. But I think it would be wise for us to see what the plan is and what their reclamation plan is and stuff, if we even care about reclamation.
So our surface use plan is in here. I mean, it spells everything that we can and can't do. So you can read through that. I can come up with a pipeline route.
So you've got a surface use plan in here that shows the plats and everything, like what your plan is?
Well, until we get an agreement from Roosevelt City to be able to create plats, we can't do any of that stuff.
That's what I'm talking
Typically,
about.
we ask for survey permission, we go survey it out, but in this particular case, I don't want to go survey a site that nobody's comfortable with. Once you guys get comfortable with a site, I would gladly go survey it, start generating the plats.
So this is really just to say, we're gonna work on this and we're gonna work with you on what you want.
Yeah.
Well, I just don't wanna give you permission to do whatever you want.
Yeah. I just knew there was questions behind this agreement here that I gave, and I just wanted to provide some clarification.
Good. I just think as a city, it would be good for us to, you know, work with you on making sure that we, like, I think the tanks and the health implications is a good idea and stuff like that, so.
I think it's worth, I mean, I think it would be worth your time, and it wouldn't cost a lot of money to at least go out. You wouldn't pay for a survey, but go out and look at that area, especially down on the east side.
Well, if you pull up that map again, I would gladly approach Finley. They've got a location that they are probably not ever going to drill. They've got a battery built there, but I've talked to some of them, but this location right here, they built a production battery here, but have moved away. They moved over and drilled all the wells from here.
Mm-hmm.
And then this DSU is a drilling spacing unit, is ours. And so I would gladly approach them and see if we could even put our facility there, and then we could run a pipeline around the edge of here to a wellhead here or a wellhead down here. It's just a function of wherever you guys feel comfortable.
I'm comfortable working on something. I definitely care about like the visual resource because
Would it have to be on that view? Because we own that property on that south pivot to the east. We own that property down below.
So some of the challenges too that we face is, do we own the minerals below us? So if it's the issue that Finley's developing, we don't necessarily want to go in and injecting water into their DSU.
Do you have an overlay of where you guys own the minerals, so we can kind of get an idea of how it matches up?
Yeah, I do. And so we actually, they're in 2 square miles, so, the DSU down north here, where you say you own this, we just traded that DSU out to Finley. So we operated some wells in that DSU, but they've always owned it. And so we traded those wells out.
But what about just to the east of that? So,
Just to the east of here?
yeah, right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, that's what I wonder, why not, instead of piping it clear back up on the view, why not try to put it right below?
Do you want, I think this is,
Right.
I don't think this is yours right here. This is Moonshadow Ranch's pivot right here.
Yeah, that's right where he has his cursor.
Okay, right here?
Yeah.
So the challenge there, and it would have, if you guys are comfortable with it, we would have to cut a big section out of the hillside, because this road comes up right along the hillside.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
And so there is it's a pretty good ledges there, pretty steep. We could build a location, but as long as you're comfortable with it.
On that side, I don't think we even care. Because it's like out of sight, out of mind.
On the back porch of Roosevelt City.
Yeah. And it's not gonna affect anything we're going to do with what we're trying to accomplish with our gun range either. Again, it would be completely out of the way.
All I will put together a pipeline route and just a mock-up plat of what it would look like there, and then get back to, who do you want me to send that to? Just to Kirby?
I'd send it to probably Josh. And you can carbon copy Kirby, and then what we'll do is, as an admin staff, we'll just look over the agreement that you sent, and then we'll kind of make some recommendations or determinations, and then we can bring it back before the council, where it's a little more fine tuned. We'll probably work with you in between. Does the council have, my personal opinion would be to get, per barrel, just because that's it's gonna be an ongoing impact to the land, and it would be an ongoing payment to the city until you stop. So that would be my.
We had seen another agreement. You and I had done some math on it. It's not the one that we've been showing up here. If you've got it.
Yeah, in fact, there's a couple landowners to the west that we work with on a program across, we can give you that agreement.
Okay.
And I would suggest that agreement, the 2 landowners we're working with are very good at writing their agreements, and we've got a great relationship with them. I would suggest those to cut down on some of the workload for now.
That sounds good.
Good. One last question for me. Is there anything else you want from me other than just kind of the general area and the pipeline route?
I would just say to that southern area is keep it as far away from the north part of the property as you possibly can.
Keep it out of sight.
Yeah.
When you submit the plan to the state, will you just provide a copy of the whole package to Roosevelt City? I know it's public information anyway, they keep it on the website, but I think it'd be good for us.
So none of that will take place until we get a search use agreement. So we won't even pursue a plan with the state until we have the circuit use agreement.
I think it'd be a good thing to get Scott the overall plan for the shooting range so that he can see that we're taking a lot of that property and it's going to be utilized pretty heavily all the way down that to the west where you're talking about, where that location is that you're thinking about coming off and putting your facility there. So that's where our shotgun shooting range is going to be, out on the southern and southwest end of our property there. So to the southeast, it's not going to impact it. And plus shotguns, it's not going to, not really concerned about,
Right.
They don't go out. Yeah. So it's just the high powered rifles and then the tanks being up on the view where they can see it, and those type. We just don't want to provide any targets for people, unintended targets for people.
Understood. We appreciate that.
A lot of problems. So we worked with, interestingly enough, we worked with Moon Lake. They wanted to ride away through that same area, and we worked with them to keep it below the hill, back behind, for the same purposes. And so it seems like just because we wanted to build a gun range there, everybody else wants to do something there too. But so we're just being which is. But I think it's if we can keep it out of sight, out of mind, I think.
We will pursue some other options and get back to you. I'll send those over to Josh and Kirby and go from there.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks
Thanks,
for your
Grant.
time.
Sunshine.
All right, I know it's weird that Kim is here and I'm in front of you talking about airport stuff. But that's because, the FAA requires us to, do engineering consultant selection every 5 years, and our agreement with JV has actually expired. They're very careful about not overstepping their boundaries, so, Kirby and I had to take on this, request for qualifications, just to make sure nothing looks improper. But Kim was nice enough to provide a template for us to use. So I worked with Kirby and just offered their recommendations to give 3 weeks for the advertisement period. You'll notice I'm saying that responses should be due by on or 4 p.m. on February 28th. And then also directly above that, we have our project list. We are required to include upcoming projects that we'd like to work on in that 5-year timeframe in order to be eligible for FAA funding. If a project comes up that's not included in this, we would then have to go out to bid again for engineering services for that. So we did just stick with the projects that the airport board has already decided to prioritize. The one change we did make is adding the remove apron obstructions, relocate fuel system. That was not officially part of the plan moving forward, but it had been something that had been under discussion enough with the board that we thought, well, there's no harm in just adding that on in case it becomes an option during this time frame. So it's pretty simple. We just need to go out to bid again to get those proposals. And we wanted your go ahead before we went ahead and published this.
Do you need a motion to go ahead? Is that?
I don't think I technically need one, but I just wanted you guys to be okay with it before I went ahead and published it. So that's your call.
Let's do a motion. Go ahead.
I'll move that we proceed.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then those, usually with an RFQ, it is RFQ, right? Not an RFP. Those will come for, once the submittals come back in, then they'll be reviewed by the airport board, and then the recommendation to the council, correct? So, and Kim, I know obviously everybody knows who Kim is, but who's with you tonight?
Trinity Benson with us tonight. She just started with our firm recently in the airport realm.
Awesome. Well, you picked one of the best firms, I would say, in the nation, at least in the state, and we've been very happy with JUB, so.
That's what I keep hearing, so that's great.
Awesome. Okay, Chief Watkins, code enforcement idea. Oh, okay.
So this one, due to recent events, as council may know, within our police department, we do not have a formal proposal for you tonight, but I did want to know if you had any feedback. We will have a proposal for you next week. We've done a lot of research. I have information that I can't send you. However, the proposal is going to move forward with a code enforcement officer that, as you've heard with our animal control, there is a need there. So that is the direction that we are going to be proposing. But as we discussed last time, we talked about multiple options. We just want to know if there were any feedback the council had, any thoughts that you had before we bring a formal proposal by next week.
One of my thoughts was to combine the nuisance and, ordinance enforcement with animal control. It's probably already been discussed.
That's exactly what our proposal will be.
Yeah. So.
Was there any feedback that anybody had from last?
No, I just think we need to go forward with it.
So, and again, we do not want to burden the BD this past couple of weeks. They had enough on their plate.
Something I thought of, sorry, Dave, with Rose's presentation tonight is there training for an animal control person? If we're covering both bases, like how do you find someone that's do we hire someone and then get them trained in those different areas? Do you know what I mean? Like, she just said something about someone that had training with the animals that they needed.
Most likely, however, we may run across somebody who has an animal control background. Or we may run across somebody with some ordinance background, and vice versa. There will be some training on that.
The one thing we'll have next time is some job descriptions. And I'll be honest, the best place to start is taking from other communities that have already done this. And I have found some that have combined the positions. So in an ideal world, we'll advertise as somebody with all the qualifications, but as Chief said, we find someone with some, we might have to train them on the others. A great question.
I was just gonna ask if we invest in like the tools and maybe a vehicle and stuff to go along with the animal portion, because I feel like we can't really do that without training and tools as well, so maybe that ought to be in the proposal. Yes, it would be good to start them off on the right foot. You know, to give them a job, it's really hard to do without the appropriate tools, I guess, so.
Absolutely. And Lieutenant Tucker has volunteered to get a bike suit to our legal practice.
Thanks, Mr. Bain. Preston, you're up. Roosevelt Art Parks and Rec Committee.
Your hand takes the motion. Glad to be here. Some things I want to talk about. I know in your last discussion you talked about UBIC. Well, I'll get to that, but first priority, Vanessa wanted me to bring up July 4th and get some budget proposals going for that so we can get that approved at next council meeting. She has been looking into headliners for next 4th of July. And just give you some background on what we've done in the past. JR was pretty much you had it getting the headliner last year.
That was fun.
Yeah. And so we spent about $21,000. That included sound, fireworks, and the headliner. What we're looking at this year, fireworks already covered. Roosevelt City's got those for 4th of July and UBIC. We're looking up to $13,000 to $15,000 for a headliner, and that cost is pretty average. We've spent less in the past, but the headliners that we're getting now and the cost of getting them, it's gone up, unfortunately. And then if we want to get bigger names, we have to pay a little bit more. So I'll leave that to discussion for you guys. And as we're looking at that cost, is that cost that we're looking at okay from Roosevelt City, or is that something we need to come down on?
So one of the things that we discussed earlier today, just as admin and finance director and things like that. So there's two thoughts that I have really quickly. One is, and Rhonda, I'm not sure, but at one point we had a 4th of July budget that was about 8,000 or 10,000. And then we made a determination to go ahead and roll that 4th of July budget into that large pool of money for the APR committee. And I don't know that it actually made it there.
No, I know we did something different with last year, so we actually have a budget on council. You have a distinct budget for 4th of July, New Year's.
What do we have in the 4th of July budget?
4th of July celebration has 13,000.
Okay, perfect. So that's money that you can use in addition to what you have in your Arts Parks and Rec Committee fund. Now, is it 6, 6, and 6 on the subcommittees in the Arts Parks and Rec, and then what goes into the general? 10. Okay. So you have those monies, so 13,000. What are the other things?
And this year it didn't go in because it was handled differently last year. What you're talking about, the 6, 6, and 6. It was 5, 5, 5 this year.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. And I think it's because we did it differently last year. So
Well,
Rhonda didn't know.
That's one thing that we need to specify in that resolution, probably, at least the amounts. And that we're gonna.
And that amount might need to go up, because if we're looking at, that's about 8,000. But for a headliner, we're looking at 13,000.
No.
So we're talking about in the Arts Parks and Rec.
So in the Arts Parks and Rec, I think we had 6, 6, 6, and 10 is what should have gone. But then she's saying that they also had 13,000 set aside for 4th of July.
Yes. Okay.
So you can use the 13,000 plus use some of your funds from the Parks and Rec
That's
to do
it.
that.
So the extra 8,000 that's put in there that we put specifically for July 4th.
Doesn't have to be.
I think it'd be preferable to do.
That's
it
up
that
to
way.
you guys.
And that would be, again, that's what I propose to us, because that money, again, it can be used that way, but with how much July 4th ends up costing, it probably would also
So
towards that.
here's a thought that we were talking about tonight, and that I think would be helpful, because when we're talking about UBIC too, if the Arts Parks and Rec Committee does UBIC, there's no way that Roosevelt City is going to tackle that budget, because it's probably going to be $70,000-$80,000 a year.
And I know you guys had a discussion, the reason why we talked about UBSC being its own committee, also maybe not attached to the city, the red tape that comes with.
That's what we talked about today also. So we're going to eliminate a lot of the red tape. We're going to have a very smooth, streamlined process that you guys will understand, that the city will understand. The other thing is, what I was saying with, for example, 4th of July, is we need to look at fundraising opportunities, advertising opportunities, and treat 4th of July similar to the UBIC, so that Arts, Parks and Rec could actually take on that.
And with that fundraising, because probably what's gonna happen, Vanessa is heading UBS. She's also doing 4th of July.
Yeah.
And she might not want to do it in concert anyway, because she's gonna be getting her money for those events.
Yeah.
That fundraising could go in that direction as well.
Yeah.
I don't see why it wouldn't.
And that's what I'm thinking. So, she's going to be, because a lot of how they pay for the UBIC is fundraising.
Yeah.
And donations for advertising.
Which I already has the.
Exactly.
For this year.
So if we can take that same approach with our 4th of July, and we still have, $12,000-$13,000 in the 4th of July budget, but then you guys go and fundraise.
You're gonna have to tell me how we get through the red tape of UBIC being different with that, because.
Okay, so we have
putting on fee schedule and all that different stuff.
We had a lot of discussion and clarified a lot of things on both sides. And so if it's not, well, Grant, can you explain if it's not a regulated fee or a service fee?
Yeah, the things that have to be on a fee schedule are either regulatory fees or service fees, which are defined by state code. Essentially, the one that you guys have to worry about the most is a service fee. So if we're trying to charge fees to recoup our costs, which can be things like power, water, employees, that kind of thing, then it has to be on the fee schedule. If we're not trying to recoup those costs, it falls outside the parameters of the fee schedule. It does not have to be.
So to give you an idea, if Roosevelt City is going to charge a fee to like UDIC for water and sewer or electricity for them to hook up, then that would be one of those costs that go on the fee schedule. But a booth space that's arbitrary and subjective does not. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. You have to explain that to me. The people who book the booths the most, I don't.
Yeah, well, but up to this point, we haven't charged UBIC for any of those regulatory fees or service fees. And so, and in the resolution, it says that you guys can fundraise, and so those booth fees are fundraising fees. Right? Advertising fees are fundraising fees. And so those do not have to be on the fee schedule. And so we're gonna clarify a lot of that. And it will strip a lot of the red tape, but then there's also going to be, how do you expend funds out of your subcommittees, because that's not really spelled out well in the resolution either.
Yeah.
Because up to this point, I think you've been told, since the committee has been started, that a subcommittee can approve up to their budget without the rest of the committee being involved. But if you're expending the general fund, then the whole committee has to decide, yes, we want to take this general fund money and apply it to, this event or that event or whatever, right? Okay. So we're just going to write that out in the resolution to follow what's been told. And so, but there will be some benchmarks. So like somebody in your subcommittee can't spend more than $500 without your approval. You can't well, the subcommittee chair's approval. The subcommittee chair can't spend more than $1,000 without the whole committee, but the whole committee can spend their whole budget if they want, if they get approved by their subcommittee.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Makes sense. We'll get them in writing, we'll get them trained on it.
Yes. So that will simplify things quite a bit. That will allow us to do UDIC with the committee without having the red tape. That will also allow us to do 4th of July without having the red tape and any other of those events. It will be, there's still going to be that oversight, obviously, and some structure to that, but it's going to be simple enough that you guys can do what you need to do.
Rhonda, we may need to meet, I don't know if a different account needs to be made for UDIC because of how much is brought in, and just tracking that.
That's not a
that might be
bad idea.
If the city's taking on, but we might have to have a conversation about that. We might, just a little bit.
Because it will be, that one is going to be, it's a wild animal.
Yeah, it is.
So, but yeah, so we've simplified a lot of that.
Perfect.
So that may change a little bit of what direction you might head. If you want to just give us until next council meeting, Grant, do you think you can have that resolution done by then? So by next council meeting, we should have a final decision on that, and then we can train Arts Parks and Rec on that. But what I would say to Vanessa, it sounds like we have, how much in 13,000?
13,000.
Yeah, in the 4th of July budget. Now, does that have to pay for fireworks, or that's just for entertainment, right?
Yes, I believe so. We will down the date on.
Cool. Ryan says they're already paid, so I'm gonna take his word for it. So, and then, so that gives you 13, then anything the art subcommittee wants to add, anything you want to vote on as a group to add to that, then you have those funds. And I would say, look at fundraising, look at advertising. I told Vanessa to go and talk to Strata and see if they let us use a jumbotron down there.
I've talked to the arts subcommittee and said, I told them they need to start fundraising for future concerts that they don't have yet.
Yeah.
To get a pool fund, get stuff in there, so they have.
Well, when you get, well, it just depends. Maybe you fundraise for this concert, but if it costs 15,000 for this concert, you fundraise and you get 20, put that 5,000, because nobody's gonna want, like me as somebody that donates to these types of things, I wanna know who the headliner is before I, like.
Absolutely.
Or, yeah, at least I'm gonna wanna know that there's decent entertainment to a degree. But a lot of people, they just, if their name's up on the jumbotron, they're willing to spend $500, $1,000. And you can get 20 companies to do that.
Yeah.
So.
Those are the big things I needed to bring up tonight. I need some updates. Teddy's Playground's coming along well. We've got parking lot in there, thanks to Ryan, and we've also got Duchesne County's donating 27 tons of rock. They're getting that finalized and approved, so hopefully that does go through. And we've drafted 18 holes, and we will have someone coming in to survey the trails here in the next couple of months, as well as we can get the trail, the mountain bike mapped out as well.
And isn't that mostly donated?
Yeah.
Things that that's awesome.
We haven't come out of our budget yet.
That's amazing.
For that. And we're hoping to find some other funding sources as well, just so we can add value to it, put in some nicer things, and really just make it a good overall park.
Are you guys still working on like a mountain biking? Did you mention that already?
Yeah, my colleague, his brother has made some mountain bike trails. He's actually going to get the Vernal Summit. He's going to come survey the trails for us.
Cool.
And help us build that up.
Awesome.
And we have the rec preview coming up on the 23rd. And that's for the community. We've got some really good responses. We've probably got about 20 different organizations who are going to be there representing what they've got.
That's cool.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Does council have any questions or things they'd like me to relay back to HR?
You're doing a great job.
Yeah, thanks for all you do.
Yeah, no problem.
We'll get you that stuff, and that'll help a lot, I think.
Yeah, Vanessa will be happy here. I'll tell her she's good to go.
All right, Josh, sometime, do you want to talk about that, or do you want to put it on the next one so that we can add some of what we're, okay? Because the APR resolution change proposal, I mean, we talked about a lot today.
We're modifying it with next one. Better do it all at once.
Okay.
If that works for you.
Yep, we'll mark that one off. APR UBIC changes and APR fee changes, those are all gonna be modified too. We did have a sheet, Dustin, that had some of the fees that you wanted to charge for indoor golfing and things like that would probably remain the same, but everything else that was, maybe tournament fees and things like that would be irrelevant, so.
It was actually Eric, not Dustin, but yes.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll just mark all these off for now.
Good, we got a class tonight.
Yeah, until next meeting. I love pushing things off. Why do them today when you can do them tomorrow? Isn't that what they say? Dustin, marquee sign.
All right, Mayor, Council, good evening. I'll make this quick. We just need to discuss a couple of options. When we tore those trees out, we thought it would be a pretty easy project. We thought, let's just replace some trees and call it good. It hasn't been easy, because there's a 6-inch gas line that runs right through that section, and they recommend us not to plant any trees. So a couple of options that we don't need to decide right now, but we can save it for the next council meeting. So our two options are to have a marquee sign, and then with this marquee sign, have xeriscape on that section where we tore the trees out, and also south of the fire department. There's a little small strip right there that's grass that I think that we can lead the way and give an example to conserve water and do xeriscape. Option 2 is do not have this electric marquee sign and just do xeriscape. And I provided what this marquee would look like. I came across it is called the monument sign. It's more of a monument style. It kind of has the height of it. The sign is only 64 inches tall, so it's about 5 foot 4 inches. And it's dual sided, so you can see it on both sides of the street, depending on what direction. I recommend putting it on the south entryway because right now it's marked only one way. So people would be entering in on that south side, and then you'd be exiting out the other side. So it wouldn't be a roadblock, when you're pulling out and such. But look over these drawings, see if you like them. I put 3 different types of logos on these marquee signs. Giving some cost estimates on that, but that's kind of our 2 options for this right now. Electric marquee sign with xeriscape or just xeriscape. Again, we don't need to decide this right now, but hopefully by next council meeting, we can decide which direction we want to go. Been working with Rhonda on the budget, and both options, we will be fitting this project under budget. So any questions or any comments?
I'm excited about the xeriscape. I think it is important that we lead where we can, and especially in small strips where it's hard to maintain anyway, really. So it makes a lot more sense to xeriscape those. I kind of like the marquees. Those are kind of cool looking.
Yeah,
I agree with the xeriscape, but you have grass on there.
That's right.
Yeah, I wondered about that too.
But what would we do? Just advertise? I mean, how would we do
There's a
that?
lot of stuff. I'm actually in the process of making some just basic A-frames for council, which is a little old school, saying, hey, we have a meeting tonight. But any public meeting, whether it's city council, planning and zoning, or the subcommittees, those will all go up there.
That would make it easy, because don't we have to post that on our door?
Yeah.
Could we post it on the marquee and get away?
I don't know if that would take care of that requirement, but
It would still be.
either way, there's a lot of information, and when we have temporary water outages for repairs, I personally, from a PR standpoint, really love the idea of having the marquee.
Right.
There's infinite messages that could be relevant to citizens.
On the marquee, what kind of resolution did you get on this? Because I've seen some that.
That's a great question. It's 8 mm, and I don't know a lot of detail about that, but I know this is the most high definition that you can. It's very small pixel.
Yeah,
So it's very clear. In fact, if you want to look,
I think it's 8 per millimeter.
yeah, and if you want to look, it's similar to the library, what they have, the 8 mm, and it's really clear as you're driving there.
What's the cost?
It is, for everything, for the sign and the cost, it is 30, sorry, grab this really quick. For the sign and the install would be $37,280.65.
And that's in our budget?
Yeah. And that will also go,
The landscaping too?
that would be 37 just for the sign. The landscaping is looking about anywhere from 8 to 10,000, depending on how nice we want to do it. And I think we can keep it really basic to 3-color rock, no shrubs, maybe a couple of bigger rocks to put in. So we can make it as nice as we want, or we can just go as easy as we want, just plain 3-color rock,
Well, it's Roosevelt City. I mean, it's our main.
It's and it's on a main street. I think we do it. Nice.
And even if we do it nice, we can still keep under that 50,000.
So what do you need from us tonight?
Nothing, just
Okay.
look at it, discuss with each other, ideas, suggestions, and then we can move forward with it. The next council will get it on the agenda. And if we can decide next, whether we want to go marquee with the xeriscape or just the xeriscape. Of course, xeriscape will be much cheaper.
Right.
You're looking around 9,000 to 10,000.
Is that the same size as the one at the library? Because I drive by that, and you're right, it's pretty clear and pretty good.
It is not, because we have to downsize quite a bit, because we have to keep 3 feet away from that gap. That's coming from Dominion Energy, in case if they needed to get in there to fix it or whatnot. So this sign is only about 5 foot wide, and we have to keep about 3 feet away from the gap.
Okay.
And it has dimensions of the screen size and whatnot, and it's a 110 power source, and we'll have to hook on to the power pole out there, the light pole. I've already met with the electrician. It was actually the same electrician that wired the whole complex here, and also the light poles out there, and he knows that there's conduit to each light pole, so we're gonna have to run through the conduit to go to that pole and then out to the sign, so it is new.
Thank you. On the xeriscape, sorry. Is there any, I'm just throwing this out there, not like, or anything, but it kind of seems just boring. Put gravel there and mark it. Is there like maybe some ideas for lights or something along there too? I know it's more money, but.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a little shrubs and.
Yes, we
big
can.
rocks. Not a lot of shrubs, but a few
Maybe some
shrubs.
accent lighting on some of it.
Yeah,
I don't know, that's probably getting way expensive.
we have options. We can do mounds, we can do shrubs. We don't want to do nothing too big just because that gas line is underneath there. We don't want anything to go too deep into the ground, but we could do rocks, bigger sized rocks, different color rock. Like there's definitely options there. We're not making it so boring.
Well, I'll think about it, yeah.
Cool. Well, let's move on to the marquees, the flowers.
Yep. So, tonight we'd like to discuss the request for proposal for the Roosevelt City Flower Fair. From public businesses to water our flowers.
Didn't we have a lady we hired, I remember we approved a couple of years ago, is it just up for approval again, is that?
I think it's a yearly
Yeah,
contract.
it's a yearly contract.
It's a yearly contract and we're looking to.
I mean, one person that waters all the flowers, not that you're having the businesses water their
No,
flowers.
just one person, maybe
Well, or
multiple.
a company. doesn't
Company.
have
Okay.
Yeah, and
It's out for bid and someone
Yep.
can bid to get the job.
yeah,
Okay.
and we're just hoping that the public knows how we do
any-
it. Yeah, it'll be a lot of work, but we're
I
just
know
wanting-
you did the good job and I know it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
To keep them looking nice, it's.
I don't think people realize how hard the job it has.
And my recommendation is not always to go with the lowest bid. Sure. We need to make sure that we get a.
Yeah, if we could get lots of bids, if we could get this out there somehow.
Yeah, and I think this is a start.
Because I think we had, last time, was it last year or the year before, we had just one bid come in, it was really low, and we took it anyway, and there were some issues throughout the year.
I believe it was the year before.
No, that was just last year.
Was it?
No, that was just
I think
last
it
year.
was- I think it was 2 years.
No, it wasn't.
I'm not sure I wasn't.
Because we had this discussion about how many flowers we were gonna pull out of pots and everything else. And it was last year.
So do you need a motion for us to proceed?
Yeah, if we could.
Yeah, I would move you proceed then to get the bids and hopefully get some good bids.
Yep.
I think it'd be, yeah.
There we have a motion to move forward.
I'll second that.
By Audrey, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Now, Tim, why didn't we talk about this when we were doing the other report thing?
I wasn't involved in it.
My goodness. Well, we should have done it anyway, then you could have gotten the early if you wanted to.
It's interesting to see all the things that are before you all. Well, Kim Sylvester with JUB Engineers, your airport engineer. Here to report back on last October, y'all approved a design contract for us to design a project for the airport pavements preservation. That's a crack seal, seal coat, and repainting of all of the airfield pavements. Runway was constructed in 2019, taxiway in 2020, and have not received any sort of maintenance since then. 4 years is when we have to put a seal coat on there to keep the minor cracks down and keep on our concrete and the bases. So, here to report that we've got that designed, we're ready to go to bid, and wanted to get your guys' approval to go ahead and submit advertisements for bidding.
So it's saying that UDOT's gonna cover 90%?
Yes.
Awesome. I'd say, let's move to approve.
Okay.
Awesome. Excellent. Just one, details want to confirm, I was gonna advertise in the Trib, Salt Lake Trib. Is there any need to advertise in the Uinta Basin Standard?
Possibly just for kicks.
I just want to make sure before I.
Do you have to go to the trip? Can we go to KSL?
You can,
Deseret News.
I can skip the Trib altogether and just go Utah Legals.
I'm just kidding. I don't know. When they start printing some negative stuff about me, though, we're not going to use them anymore. I'm just kidding.
We'd like to get a statewide paper. Some of the contractors do come out of St. George. Some of your lower, better contractors do, so I want to make sure that they're aware of the projects. That's why I like the Trib, but I'm up for whatever you guys want to do.
Wait a minute.
It's your plan.
Well, never mind.
Only because they're statewide.
We'll talk about your political affiliation after the meeting.
I have none.
I'm just kidding.
I have a motion on the floor, Mayor, that we move.
Sorry.
You're right, I'm just trying to move it on, so.
I'll second that motion.
You gotta get in this every once in a while. We have a motion in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you, future congressperson.
Thank you. We'll see. That's the plan. Okay, airport master plan update, we cancel out procurement policies off, city attorney contract, and then ultimate training.
Do I have to be here for the ultimate
You
training?
have the option to complete the training on your own time. Well, it's just a 5 to 10 minute video, and then you can come to my office and I have an affidavit you can sign saying that you did the training.
Okay, can you send me the link for the video? It'd be easier for them.
From the state auditor's office, I did theirs. And they
Oh, right, you did it
I'll
here.
just send it to you, yeah.
Do you have to leave at 8 or be there by?
Be there by 8, if I can.
We said we have multiple items for closed session. We're trying to see which we should do.
And we can do them all.
I can leave at 8. I usually tell them they know I'm on council, I might have to be late.
We can do I think it's good to have a refresher with everyone on the ultimate. Maybe we can push that to the next one where we might have to.
Which is really, it's sort of really acceptable for you to do the training on your own, and then maybe next meeting, if anyone hasn't done it, I can do it then, or if there's questions that come up, if you've done the training.
If you give me the link, I can do it during the day this week and come down and sign
I'll
it.
send it out to everybody, you guys can do your discretion, and
Okay.
then we'll review it again next week.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I know we at Central Utah, and I don't know what it is, but they provide one with their yearly training.
Yeah.
But then they also made us do one online, and I don't know if that was required. Maybe look into that, just to make sure that we're,
Just the online, they're double, that's just being thorough.
fantastic. Okay, so let's move to, with the city attorney contract, I think that's something we'll probably want to discuss in closed session. And then we have a couple other items to discuss in closed session. What are those items?
We do have one that. We're going first. There's definitely one that we do want to do before council.
It's gotta be, we've gotta be fairly open to what we're gonna discuss.
That's what I wanted. Granted, we wanted.
Not.
Well, while Grant's thinking, Mayor, I would like to move that we approve the expenditures. I reviewed the
Yeah, let's do that.
financials, and I would move we approve those.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the expenditures. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, second by Councilman Goodrich. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? The motion passes. Manager report, you wanna do that real quick?
All I want to report on is I really want to give a shout out to our police department for everybody coming together. It was amazing this past week and the unity they have, and that's all I have.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful ceremony for Officer Barton. Excellent, well done. Committee reports?
I did want to just mention for the Utah League of Cities and Town, the mid-year convention is April 17th through the 19th. So I think it's just good for council members to, and even city staff that's planning to attend, to get that on your calendar now. April 17th through the 19th. Check-ins on the 17th, then there's a full day on the 18th, and then half a day on the 19th, so.
And right, I missed capital project updates.
Where's that at? St. George?
I'll do it next meeting. Okay. And then future items for discussion. I don't see anybody else.
I move we go into closed session for the purpose listed in Utah Code 52-4-2051D.
Okay, and that's
I think it is property acquisition.
property acquisition, okay? And then we'll be discussing your contract. Okay, all right, well, we have a motion to go into closed session.
I'll second that.
We have a second by Councilman Goodrich. How do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, aye.
All eyes.
All ayes. He has to do it.
Roll call. And then, John just had to leave, are we back? Okay, John just exited, he was here, we motioned back into open session. Where he's gone, that is default into meeting's over, guys, so. You want a motion? Where,
I can't motion.
well,
Motions doesn't mean as much.
these guys,
I'll figure out that later, email you a copy.
we're gonna get to your contract.
We'll get
You're so patient. Hey, Charles. Hey,
And we, committees.
So city, I was gonna go over that.